I hope you're all well. I hope you're all staying safe. Now, as a starter, I want you to recap the lesson that we looked at last week. And I want you to think, was Operation Dynamo an end to the fighting with Germany? Yes or no? And I want you to explain your answer. And I want you to write it down either on your Word document or a piece of paper so you can submit it to your teachers. When you've submitted this answer, or when you're ready to move on, please continue with the lesson. So today's lesson, we've looked at Dunkirk. We've looked at how the British were surrounded by the German army and they managed to escape. Now we need to look at the importance and what was the Battle of Britain and why it was so important for the outcome of World War II. So, Hitler has conquered large parts of Europe. He now wants to invade Britain. But I want you to think for 10 seconds, why is it more difficult for Hitler to invade Britain than it was to invade other countries such as France? Hopefully, using your geography skills, you should realise and you should know that Britain is surrounded by water. And therefore, Hitler can't just use his tanks to go over into Britain and to conquer it as they had with France at this point. Now, Hitler wants to use his blitzkrieg. And basically, the German war machine and the German army had to gain air superiority. Now, if we look at advancements in weapons, the plane is one of the biggest advancements from when we studied World War I to now looking at World War II. And the advancements meant that now Hitler can attack Britain via the air. And then hopefully he can destroy Britain via the air to send his ships over to then land on Britain and then to take it over via land. And that was Hitler's plan. But obviously, the British had their own aeroplanes, the RAF. So there's obviously going to be a big battle in the sky, and that's what we're going to look at today. So what you need to do is you need to draw out this table. You need to have the RAF in one column and the Luftwaffe. The Luftwaffe is the German Air Force. And then you need to write advantage or disadvantage in a column, and then the evidence in another column. Now, using the resource attached on Teams, or I have also put it on the next 3 slides to help you. Please complete the table, and I want you to write down who has the upper hand. But you must back up your answer with evidence. I don't want you to put the RAF timings. They had the advantage. You must tell me why within your evidence. And then at the end, I want you to rank the reasons. What is the main advantage the RAF have? So what we're going to do is we're going to do the first example together. So I've created a table that looks like this. The advantages or disadvantages and the evidence. And we're going to look at some information related to the Battle of Britain. So every day between June and October 1940, the RAF and the Luftwaffe fought in the skies over Britain. Both sides were equipped with the latest aircraft technology. However, the RAF had Spitfires and Hurricanes, which were faster than the German planes. They were also better designed and were able to fly away from the Luftwaffe planes very easily. So, if we're looking at this table and we're looking at the advantage, I would say in this column here that I would put design. And then how were they designed? So if we go back to the information, if we're looking at the design of the aircraft, how were they designed better? Well, for one, they were faster than the Luftwaffe planes. And then I'm going to try and give some evidence. And what I've given below is I've given you a top speed. Now the Spitfire could reach 600 kilometers an hour. But the Messerschmitt, which was one of the planes of the Luftwaffe, could only reach 570 kilometers an hour. So I would say the Spitfire could fly 30 kilometers per hour faster than the Luftwaffe planes. So I've given some evidence. And then obviously if we look at the Messerschmitt, okay, And we can say the disadvantage. What's the disadvantage of the Luftwaffe and the Messerschmitt? Well, the disadvantage was their design. And then we can have a look again at this, and we can say actually they were bigger, so they turned slower. So the disadvantage was the design. Although they had more guns, they were bigger than the Spitfire and could turn and turned more slowly. And this is really what I want you to do. I want you to go through each topic and each section, and I want you to look at the advantages or disadvantages, and then I want to make sure that I see the evidence shown. So by the end, what you should see back on the PowerPoint is you should have a full column filled in with information. And then what I want you to do is I want to see numbers next to them ranking what is the main reason and the main advantages that the RAF or the Luftwaffe have. So, as I promised, on the next few slides there is some more information. So I've just shown you this one, which you can pause and go over again if you need to. And then there's information and topics above. So what I need you to do is I need you to look through this information on the radar, and I want you to look at the information on the timings. You need to pause this to read through to complete your table. So please pause now to complete, and then when you're ready, please continue. I also want you to look at the training. So what was the training that the British pilots had over the Germans? And then I also want you to look at how many planes in the corner here each of the air forces had, to look at the advantages and disadvantages. So once you've completed that and you've spent time on that, I want you to think, who do you think, after looking at this evidence, is most likely to win the Battle of Britain? Do you think at the moment that it's the RAF, or do you think it's the Luftwaffe? And I want you to use this sentence starter to help you. I think the RAF or the Luftwaffe has the biggest advantage. And give me a reason why. I think this because. And why is that the case? So this meant that. And that's what I want you to do as a mini plenary. Decide, after looking at the evidence, who do you think at the moment has the biggest advantage? When you're ready, please continue. So, despite the numerical disadvantage, so the RAF was outnumbered, the RAF was able to hold off the German Luftwaffe. And as a result, Germany was unable to invade Britain. It was the first time since the beginning of the Second World War that the Nazi army had not been successful. So the outcome of the battle was very, very important. It allowed Britain to continue fighting, the war. Because if they'd have lost this, there was a good chance that the German army would have invaded Britain and we could have lost the war. So the Battle of Britain is really important. So I want you to look at how significant it is. Significance is a really key skill within history. So we need to look at how important the Battle of Britain was. And when you've looked at the information so far today, I want you to look at the criteria. And does the Battle of Britain satisfy this criteria? Was the Battle of Britain groundbreaking? Was it remembered by all? Was it events that were far-reaching? Did it affect the future? And do you think it was terrifying? Now I want you to go through this grade, and I want you to think, and I want you to try and write some evidence next to each section of the words. So for example, if I look at groundbreaking, why would it be groundbreaking? Well, the technology had advanced since World War I. So it's groundbreaking because the technology had advanced since World War I. And if I was thinking of some technology that was introduced, I could say the planes were one, but also the introduction of radar was very important. Radar was groundbreaking at the time, and if you want to learn more about radar, please go ahead and search on Google, because it is a really interesting piece of equipment that was used to help defeat the German army. So that's what I want you to do. And then once you've completed this, I want you to continue with the lesson. So please pause now, spend some time looking at this, and then please continue with the lesson. Now, ultimately, why was the Battle of Britain so important? What would have happened if Britain had lost the battle? Who would have been affected? Had Germany lost the battle up until now? And did it affect the future? Because ultimately, you have to think, was it a turning point in the war? And there is a famous quote that is often said about the RAF, and it's above me in the picture. Never was so much owed by so many to so few. And I want you to have a think about that quote and what it means. And then finally, after you've had a think about that quote, I want you to think, how significant was the Battle of Britain? And I want you to, at the bottom of your work, put a number, 1 to 10. And I want you to decide, say for example, if you think it was a 7, I want you to tell me why you believe it was very significant. If you need any help or advice, please contact your teachers and we will be happy to support you. And any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. I hope the task goes okay, and I hope you all stay safe and well. Thank you. Bye-bye.